guys, reporting once again from Las Vegas. Today we're playing 25-50-100 at the Wynn, which is one of my favorite spots to play at in Vegas. It's a game I've played before. It's Boston Jimmy's, and it's always a good time, good group of guys, and plenty of action to go around. So fingers crossed that we come out ahead, but you guys know how it is in these games. It could go either way at any moment. Also, fingers crossed that we get inside as soon as possible, because it's over 100 degrees outside right now in Las Vegas. It's not even June yet, and it's like 5 in the afternoon, so that's pretty depressing for all you guys out there who don't use the Fahrenheit system and you use a more normal reading of the temperature. That's, I think, around 38 degrees Celsius or something like that. Anyway, it's super hot. Let's get inside. Let's play some cards. Wish us luck.
Alright, here we go, playing some 25-50-100 at the Wynn. In the first interesting hand, there's a late position open to $300, and I look down at ace queen of spades in the small blind. Pretty standard re-raise, I think, so I make it $1,600 to go, and only the initial raiser makes the call. So we go heads up to a board, which is great. Ace 8-3 rainbow. No spades out there, but we still have a super strong top pair, so I continue for a small bet of $1,300. My opponent makes the call, and we go to the 9 of hearts on the turn. This time I think continuing to bet is fine, but I decide to check it because he might bluff with, say, a hand like 5-4 suited, or maybe a hand like Jack 10 suited, or random floats on the flop. So I check it, and he checks it back. River card is not my favorite. It's the 10 of clubs. So if he does have an ace, probably we're only beating like ace jack at this point, or some small suited ace. I decide to check it again, let him bluff in case he was delaying a bluff for the river, or perhaps value bet a worse hand. And now he does put in some chips, $2,400. I'm happy to just call here. A check raise would be a little too optimistic. And he flips over pocket kings, which is really not a hand I expected to see, but we get a bit lucky against his kings and take down the first pot. In the second hand, the straddle is on, and I open to 500 with queen jack of diamonds. Player in middle position calls, and then someone in late position re-raises to 2,200. All the way back around to me, and since we're not super deep, I actually think folding queen jack suited is fine here out of position, but he has like 14 or 15k behind. I elect to make the call, which is a bit too loose, but it is a private game. Player behind me calls as well, so we go 3 ways to a flop of king 10-7 with 1 diamond. So we flop an open-ended straight draw to the nuts, of course, if it were to come. Checks to late position, the initial 3-better, and he continues for a small bet of 1,800. Back around to me, and on this kind of board, I would almost never really check raise most hands, especially, like I said, with such shallow stacks behind. Even hands like pocket 10s or pocket 7s can slow play a little bit. But I also think check raising is fine once in a blue moon, and I'm going to use my hand as a check raise this time. I bump it up to $4,400, and my thinking here is if he's got a hand like pocket queens or jacks, he's going to hate this. If he's got ace queen or ace 5 suited, for example, he's not going to be having a lot of fun, and the player behind me probably doesn't connect too hard on this kind of flop. So I make it 4,400. Middle position folds, and the initial 3-better makes the call, so he's not done just yet. By the way, the reason I made it so small is, again, because stack sizes are kind of shallow. Turn card is the 5 of clubs. Obviously would have preferred a diamond or something to improve my hand somehow, but instead it's a blank. But I think it's fine to continue bluffing now. Like I said, if he's got ace queen or ace jack, a middling pocket pair, he's not going to love this spot, so I throw in $5,500. But after some thought, my opponent jams all in for his remaining 9 or 10k. I obviously just fold, and yeah, he shows the king of clubs. So ran into it here and definitely lost more than I needed to. Next, middle position makes it 300, and I decide to bump it up to 1,000 from late position with king jack offsuit. Decent hand to 3-bet bluff from time to time, but I get instantly punished when it gets back around to the initial raiser as he makes it 3,300. Now I know what you're thinking, why is this hand even in this vlog, right? I'm just gonna fold. Well, yes, but similar to last hand, we have a low frequency possibility here with King Jack offsuit. He's got 14k behind, and I think this is the type of player to maybe incorporate some fancy 4-bets, which allows King Jack off to be a nice bluff here. If he has a hand like, say, Ace 5 suited or Ace Jack, maybe King 9 suited, you know, those sorts of like bluffy 4-bets that people put in from time to time, then we can get away with something here. So I decide to jam all in for 14k. My opponent does not love it, which is exactly what we were hoping for, and eventually folds Ace 10 of hearts, which of course is a great result for us as we take down this $3,300 uncontested plus the blinds. Next, I make it $300 with Jack 9 of clubs. Player on my left bumps it up to 1100, and I decide to make the call, which in theory is not really the best play, but you know, this is a private game and you guys know how it goes. So I toss in the money and we go to a flop of 7-7-3 with 2 spades. I absolutely miss this board, but when I check, my opponent checks it back, which I think is indicative of not the best hand, probably. Turn card is the Queen of Diamonds. I check it again, but I have some evil intentions here, and now my opponent bets 1200. And what I think is going on here is he's got some sort of ace high or, you know, King Jack, stuff like that, which might want to bet on this card. But since he capped himself on the flop to, at best, a single pair, we can now apply maximum pressure through a check raise. I could have a hand like pocket threes, I could have all the sevens in the deck, and of course I can balance that out with random airballs like Jack 9 of clubs. Needless to say, this is just way too wide, and if I was going to try stuff like this, it's probably better with some sort of straight draw or maybe a flush draw, you know, things that have outs, not Jack 9 of clubs where we're pretty much drawing dead if he's got something. But that's what I do here. I take the unorthodox aggressive route and make it 6,000. My opponent thinks for a while and eventually calls, which is not great, of course. But there are 2 flush draws out there, and he might have something that's hanging on for dear life, like say pocket eights or whatever. River card is the Ace of clubs. Definitely not my favorite, because if he had the nut flush draw, whether that was diamonds or spades, he obviously makes top pair now. But unless he has exactly that hand, I think he's just going to be in a world of hurt. Even hands like King Queen are going to hate an all-in here. Any sort of pocket pair is probably gone. So I decide to go for it. All in for $16,000. That's how much he has behind. Hoping to put him in a tough spot with pretty much all his holdings that are not boats or quads. And we get snap called. He flips over pocket queens and we lose a $46,000 pot just like that, for pretty much no good reason aside from trying to give action. Perhaps a little too much action here. We run into it. And of course, that's the risk of, you know, playing aggressively and going for some wild bluffs from time to time, is you just run into it. So yeah, makes me look like an idiot. On that note, let's move to the next one where there's an early position raised to 300 bucks. I make it 1,000 on his left with ace 4 of diamonds. A good re-raise candidate, I think, especially in position. The straddler cold calls my $1,000 raise, and now the initial raiser on my right bumps it up again. He makes it 5,400. Well, we have position and a very playable hand, so I decide to make the call. Folding here also completely reasonable, but I think with position and the fact he might be a little bit wide after the straddler cold call my 1,000, I think it's okay to continue here. So I am in there. The straddler folds and we go heads up to a flop of 9-5-5 with 1 diamond. I completely missed, but if my opponent also completely missed, we might be able to get away with something here. And he does check. Now, of course, in the previous hand, my opponent checked with pocket queens when it was an overpair, so just because someone checks doesn't mean they don't have anything, but sometimes it does mean that, and I'm going to find out right now. I throw in a bet of $3,200. We also have some backdoor flush, backdoor straight possibilities, and who knows, we might just be able to get it done versus ace high right now. Sure enough, my opponent folds, so not a ton of post-flop action here, but we do pick up over $6,000 without too much resistance. Unfortunately, at this point, I look down under the table for a little surprise. My leg is stuck to the table through someone's chewing gum that they left underneath. In fact, there was 2 pieces of gum under the table, and I'm not gonna lie, this kind of tilted me a little bit. I'm not sure why people do this at a poker table when there's usually like 18 trash cans within throwing distance. Just get up and go toss your gum. I mean, what the hell? But the reason I'm including this is because tilt levels have now been raised just ever so slightly, but enough to make this next hand a little more bearable. Here we go, guys. In this hand, I was not filming because I was busy getting this gum off my shorts. The Win staff were kind enough to bring me some adhesive removal products and stuff like that. So I wasn't filming, but here we go. There's an early position raise to 300. The button makes it 1200, and I look down at 8-7 of hearts in this small blind. I choose the worst of all the options and cold call from the small blind with a suited connector. This is just awful. Don't do this, guys. But anyway, it gets back around to early position, who makes it $9,000. The instant punishment for me cold calling with 8 high in the small blind. Back on the button now, who was the initial re-raiser. He jams all in for less. He only had like 5K in his stack. I'm pretty much getting squeezed out now, but I refuse to get squeezed out and instead go for the old cold call back jam out of the small blind. I am all in for $45,000 effective. That's how much the early position player has, who's made it 9K. And you're probably wondering, what the hell are you doing? And I'm kind of wondering that too, but really in my mind, I was like, well, if he's got ace king or ace queen, or maybe he's making a play with some sort of bluff, he might fold, so there's always that. And even if he does call, we have live cards. You know, maybe the button went all in with an ace as well, so they have each other's outs, and I'm down here in the low card territory. How bad can it really be percentage-wise? You know what I mean? Now, we don't get snap called, which is great. That means we're probably not up against a premium pocket pair. Eventually, though, he does call. So just like that, we have nearly a $100,000 pot off to a run out. And good news here is that Boston Jimmy himself managed to film this. It is in vertical mode because, you know, he films for Instagram and stuff, so you guys are going to have to bear with me. But the run out was captured. Here we go. Flop comes down ace 9-5, so we have a gutter. Obviously, it's a trash flop because, you know, ace king gets there, and we're pretty much drawing dead unless a 6 comes. Turn is a 10. Now we're open-ended, so there's a little more hope. And the river is a jack, the jack of spades, giving me a straight in the most ridiculous of circumstances. Sure, the flush does get there, but considering all the pre-flop action, I don't think that's too relevant. And sure enough, I turn over the straight and it is good. Early position player has ace king offsuit, which is no good now, and whatever the button had also can't beat me. So just like that, we win this massive pot after trying my best to punt. Let's be honest, this was a pretty ridiculous play. At least it might help get future invites to this game because, man, if someone's going all in for nearly 50K with 8 high, you probably want to play poker with them. This time I'm that guy, but it pays off and we end up winning this ridiculous pot, perhaps a little bit accredited to this chewing gum that was stuck on my leg, maybe pushed me just enough over the edge to make this play, and we get paid. Don't try this at home, guys. I am not responsible for any financial impact this might have on your lives, just telling my story. Here we go. In the next hand, there's an early position raise. Camera is back on. $300 to go, and I'm in late position with king jack of spades. I elect to raise it up to 1100. Back around to the initial raiser, and he says, the hell with it. You're playing crazy. I am all in too. $10,000. And the thing about this player is he's someone I actually invited to the game. Goes by the name Turbo. You guys may have seen him on live streams and stuff like that before. He's a good buddy of mine, someone who I met way back at Morongo. Usually against my OG Morongo friends, we like to splash around and give action whenever possible. So I toss in the call, knowing damn well we're probably behind, and this time is no exception. He flips over pocket queens. We decide on running it twice. First board gives us the nut flush draw, which looks pretty damn good, but then no help on the turn or river. So now we're looking for some improvement on the second board, which sadly does not come. We hit a jack, but that's not good enough. And then no further improvement either on this one. So queens hold up on both runouts, and we lose a $20,000 pot to Turbo. Nice hand, brother. In the next hand, I look down at king deuce of hearts. I make it $300 to go. Player a few seats to my left makes it 800. Rather small re-raise, but a re-raise nonetheless. Everyone folds except for me. I make the call and we go to a flop of ace jack 5 with 1 heart. I check, he bets 600, and look, we have backdoor runner straight and flush possibilities. I am in there. I toss in the call and we make a pair. It's the deuce of diamonds on the turn. I check again. Probably will have to fold if he bets now, but instead he checks back, which gives me a free card. And it is a beautiful free card, the King of Spades. I mean, look, guys, I'm trying my hardest to give action today, trying to punt here and there, and sometimes the deck just doesn't allow it. And on those days, I think it's best to just accept the gifts that the gods are giving you. So I toss in a bet of $1,300. Looking back, this is pretty bad sizing, I think. If he's got an ace, we should be betting near the size of the pot. And if he's got a weak holding, we should probably bet small to induce a bluff, or who knows, maybe get a hero call out of like pocket sixes or whatever. So I don't really like this sizing. But anyway, he makes the call and we win again versus ace queen offsuit. So incredibly lucky runouts with both turn and river in this hand as well. So anyway, that moves us to the last hand of the night. In this one, I double straddle for $200. There's a few limpers, and then the small blind makes it $1,800. Back to me now, and I look down at 9-8 of clubs. Good enough to defend in position, I think, especially when the small blind in this hand, the guy who made it 1,800, he's the player that had ace-king earlier, which I got lucky against, so I feel like we owe him some action. I make the call, everyone else folds, and we go heads up to a flop of queen 9-4 with 2 diamonds, 1 club. So we flop middle pair, some backdoor hopes. He bets 1,200 now, very small bet. Easy call here in position with middle pair, so I toss in the money, and we see the king of clubs on the turn, giving me that flush draw we were talking about. Now my opponent checks, and I don't think betting here makes a lot of sense. This card is generally better for him than it is for me, and I just think it's one of those spots where we're going to get called a lot. So not interested in just bloating this one with a pair of nines and a draw. I check it back, and what do you know? You guys could probably guess the river, right? It's a non-board pairing club. That's right, the 6 of clubs, as clean as it comes. Sadly, my opponent checks again, so it seems we will have to do our own bidding here. I choose a size to target hopefully a strong hand like, you know, ace queen or better that he might be checking with. I throw in $7,000, a little over the size of the pot, trying to make it look like I'm either completely full of it with missed diamonds or I have something strong. After a few seconds of thought, my opponent frustratingly tosses in a call, and that looks like good news. Sure enough, it is. 9-8 of clubs is good, and we collect this last hand of the session. At this point, I had to get to some dinner plans, but as always, I hope you all enjoyed the hands.
Well, that was a hell of a ride. I'll be the first to admit I played quite poorly tonight. I think that much was obvious, but I also don't think that's the worst thing ever, especially in private games. I've spoken about this before, but I'm a big advocate for giving action and playing loose when, you know, you're in a table that isn't super serious and it's like a organized game and stuff, but that's also a slippery slope because if you don't dial in the amount of fun that you're having, it can quickly become very, very expensive. Overall, I'm still happy with how tonight went, and of course, I'm quite fortunate to get out ahead after some of those plays. I was in for, I don't even know how much, but I won somewhere in the neighborhood of 27,000 bucks, which is awesome. Sometimes that happens. You know, you play bad, you still win. We've all been there. I know you have. A lot of you guys have, so don't come at me. But anyway, that was how my night went, and I think I'm gonna call it for this Vegas trip. I want to head back home and get back to work on Dear Delta Music, which we have some new songs coming out soon. And I'm, you know, just a little tired of Vegas, which does happen to me. Shout out to everyone who plays every single day of the WSOP. I don't know how you guys do it. And also shout out to anyone who goes outside in Las Vegas, because I walked out right now, it's like midnight, and I think it's 90 degrees. That's disgusting. I'm gonna get home, get some sleep, and as always, I hope you all enjoyed the hands. Until next time, good luck at your local tables. See you guys very soon.